My next guest is hands down the one I'm personally the most excited about. There are two authors I call all-time favorites. Stephen R. Donaldson is one, she is the other. Starting with Interview with the Vampire and The Vampire Lestat, her Mayfair Witches and Vampire Chronicles and other books have collectively sold over 100 million copies. But now she's on a different path. Her latest is called Angel Time, and it's on bookshelves everywhere, so go out and get it now. Please join me in the extreme pleasure I feel in welcoming Anne Rice to Bibliotech. Anne?
Hi.
How you
Glad
doing?
to be with you.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about Angel Time. What should we expect from this book? Tell us about the book.
Well, first of all, I hope it's very entertaining. If it's not entertaining, don't bother with it. It should be suspenseful. It should be filled with an action-packed story. And it's about a new hero of mine, Toby O'Dare, a human hero, and his encounter with an angel that completely transforms his life. Toby is an assassin and a pretty burnt-out, angry young man of 28, and he utters a sarcastic prayer to God and to his guardian angel, and to his utter amazement, that prayer is answered. His very special guardian angel, a seraph named Malchiah, appears to him and says to him, why don't you repent, and why don't you stop being an assassin, and why don't you work for the angels on earth? And Toby takes that assignment, and that's what the novel's about.
Great. Do you think some of your Vampire Chronicles fans might be able to better relate to this one?
I think they are better relating. I've already received quite a few emails from readers, and they like it very much. They're responding to the storytelling, and there's a dark side to Toby, but this is really a novel about redemption, and I think they're finding that appealing. So far, so good.
Yeah, congratulations. So this is the first book where you've been sort of hyper-present on Twitter and Facebook. I think that's correct, is that right?
That's correct. I'm hyper-present. I'm enjoying them very much.
So what inspired that, and what has that been like for you to sort of been, living in the hive mind with all the rest of us suddenly?
I'm enjoying it. It was suggested to me. I wouldn't have found Facebook on my own, but it was suggested that I join, and I have what's called a fan page. Their words, not mine. And there are about 35,000 people signed up, I think. And it's just wonderful. I go on there and post questions and comments, and I don't know, 400 people will respond in an hour. It's just really terrific. I love it.
Yeah, you seem like the kind of person who really does enjoy that kind of interaction with the fans
I want to know what they think about books. I want to know what they think about my books, and I want to know what they think about politics and religious questions too. And it's just a fabulous thing. And to celebrate something with them, like the pub date of a book, is really great, because it's like having all these friends right with you.
Right.
It's really wonderful.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Anne's Twitter is it's Anne Rice Author. Is that correct?
I believe so,
yes.
yes.
Anne Rice Author. So did someone have Anne Rice? Do you know what the story is with that? Did someone actually take the name Anne Rice on Twitter?
Well, there might have been an Anne Rice on Twitter. I'm not sure. If we added author, there probably was.
Yeah. Okay, that would be my guess. So I noticed you tweeting a lot of questions lately. Like I'll read you two that I've noticed you so recently. I'm pondering hell and whether Christians must believe in a literal hell. Can we hope no one is damned? Can we pray for all to be saved? And then another one, I read in the papers this morning about scientists, or I read in the paper this morning about scientists trying to counteract the fear, cosmophobia, that the world is slated to end in 2012. What are the answers like that you get back? I mean, are they just sort of crazy? Are they all over the place? You get considered responses? What's been your experience?
I get some pretty intelligent responses and some pretty wonderful responses. A lot of people responded about hell. A lot of people talked about their feelings about it. I also did a little discussion in one of the forums on Amazon on that very question, so I tend to mix up what feedback came where. But a lot of Christians are really Christians because of their love of God, not because of a fear of hell, necessarily. And yet there are a lot of very scripture-based Christians who say that we do have to believe in hell. So I was intrigued by all of the different responses I got.
I think it's kind of interesting too. Is I always know what you're reading, and have an idea of what movie you've just seen, and that's been really interesting, because you have to understand. I've spent, I don't know, the last 20 some odd years wandering around in your head through your novels for quite a long time. So to suddenly, have you sort of chirping in my ear every once in a while is a very interesting experience and kind of cool. And
Great.
so thank you for being so present like that. That's really great.
Well, I really enjoy it. I like telling the gang every day what I watched the night before. If I watched the 1932 Mummy with Boris Karloff, I get a whole lot of comments on that. It's really great.
Yes, and people should know that it really is you. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not. This is not like your PR person. It's really you participating. So.
Oh, no. I think authors who don't do this themselves, they're missing something really wonderful, really. This kind of feedback from your readers, knowing who your readers are, being friends with your readers. This, to me, this is part of my life. As I said, I think if an author doesn't do this, if you get a PR person to do this for you, you're really missing something. You're cheating yourself out of something pretty wonderful.
So what do you think? Would Toby O'Dare use Twitter?
Oh, absolutely.
You
Toby
think
would. Well, Toby's being a hitman and being a covert operative.
Yeah.
I guess he would use Twitter under somebody else's name.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I was thinking about that because he seemed like an under the radar kind of guy. So he doesn't really.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's one of the things that's driving him crazy as the novel begins, is that he has no real identity.
Right.
He's the invisible man. Lucky the Fox is his nickname, and amongst people who are trying to hunt him down. But he doesn't really have any identity. He's sort of dying, really, spiritually, when he prays to God and the angels, and the big turnaround comes.
So now, what about Lestat?
Well, Lestat's not coming back. I did 11 novels.
No.
with
I'm
Lestat.
sorry. To clarify, I meant would he use Twitter? That's my question.
Oh, would he use Twitter? Would Lestat use Twitter? Oh, sure. Lestat would love Twitter.
We wouldn't be able to rip
Yeah.
him off that thing, would we? He'd be in his
Oh,
coffin,
he'd have
his iPhone.
Yeah, he'd
Cursing
have a
AT&T.
Facebook page, everything. Yeah. Lestat would do that for
Yeah.
sure.
So let's talk about some other technology. So the Kindle. What do you think about the Kindle? Have you seen your books on the Kindle?
I haven't seen it yet. I have one on order, and I'm eager to use it and see if I like it. I think it's a great idea. I think the idea that you can publish a book on Kindle for a very small amount of money is a revolutionary idea.
Do you find that, so you haven't really seen it yet, so you probably don't know the fact that the fonts are actually lost on the Kindle, and the idea of pagination, like what pages are where, is lost on the Kindle as well.
Wow.
So you don't have an exact translation of your paper book on the Kindle, which it seems to me like it matters sometimes and sometimes not, but knowing that, how does that make you feel as an author? Do you feel like it loses something?
Well, I would say yes. Offhand, I think that it would lose something. I know my publisher, Knopf, spends a lot of effort to get exactly the right typeface for a book, and they always publish a note in the back of the book as to what that typeface is. And that's a shame that doesn't translate onto Kindle. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I think probably future editions will. I can't imagine they're going to leave it like that forever because there's too many people are saying that. So. It's kind of the way I feel about it also. So a lot of aspiring authors watch this show, and in fact, the inspiration for starting it was, a lot of authors these days are now using digital media to build their audiences first, and then get book deals. And we've had several folks on who have done that. But I'm wondering, how did you get started, and how did you get an agent?
I went to a writers' conference. About 9 months after I had written, about 8 months after I'd written Interview with the Vampire, and I took the manuscript with me. And I met an agent there and showed it to her, and she agreed to handle it. And it turned out that my future editor was there too. We had met briefly in one of the writers' groups, and the agent sent the editor the manuscript when they got back to New York, and the editor bought the manuscript. And it was a wonderful thing for me that I went to that writers' conference. It was the Squaw Valley Community of Writers in California. And I almost didn't go. I was a very shy person. I had to be pushed onto the bus by my husband. And I'm very, very glad that I went. And it was a big break.
Yeah, I'll bet. And so, I mean, because a lot of folks these days are, they'll do, I don't know how aware you are of some of the ways in which people are now getting book deals and the like, but a lot of folks that I know, sort of my little world, they're doing podcast audiobooks, or they do MP3 readings of their books and hand them out for free. And they've built audiences sometimes in the millions. And
that's great.
That has then led them to get book deals.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so it's very sort of scrappy now, and I call them authorpreneurs. They're like internet entrepreneurs, but they're authors, right? So, and they're very aggressive about promoting their stuff. and they promote their stuff on Twitter, on Facebook, on Goodreads, all these places. How did you? Now you started in a very different time, and it struck me actually. Margaret Atwood was on the show not long ago, and she started in a different time also. But she was very scrappy and very sort of creative about how she promoted her books. Did you do anything like that when when Interview with the Vampire came out? Was there some interesting thing that you did to promote it?
To promote it, not really. I did the conventional things that I went on doing for years, and that is being interviewed by people from newspapers and magazines and appearing on some television shows. I went on the Johnny Carson show. I remember when Joan Rivers was the guest host, and that was a very big deal. But I didn't do anything particularly unusual. Now, as the years passed, I did some very unusual things, like going on the Shopping Channel. I did that a couple of times.
I didn't know that.
And I also devised all kinds of theatrical things to liven up signings that we would do. Like I bought a coffin and was carried in a coffin to the signings and pop out of the coffin in a black gown. And I love to do that kind of thing. I thought the signings should really be wonderful fun for the readers. And at one point, we had a complete jazz funeral in New Orleans, and I was taken in a glass hearse with a band of second-lining musicians to the signing, and it was quite exciting.
Okay, so you have done some scrappy things. You've gone out there and okay, that's what I thought. I just didn't know all the stories.
Sure.
So now, if you were starting today, knowing what you know about Twitter and Facebook and all the rest of it, how do you think you'd go about it?
I really have no idea. You know, I get emails every day asking my advice on this, how to find an agent, how to find a publisher. I don't know what to tell people. I really don't know that much about what goes on today. The advice I keep giving people is to have complete faith in themselves and in their own vision and keep going for publication. But I don't know what works in today's world. I really don't.
You seem to be doing it, though. I mean, to be honest with you, like a lot of authors don't use Twitter nearly as well as you do. And so I've been rather impressed with that. So
I certainly enjoy doing that, but I'm already established. I don't know what happens with a new author,
right,
or how a new author can most effectively use these tools. I think it's wonderful that you can self-publish and you can get Amazon.com to carry your book and you can get it on Kindle. I think that's quite an incredible thing and a wonderful thing, because the publishing world is no more fair, really, than any other arena of opportunity in the arts.
So your son Christopher is also a writer. And
yes.
Is he doing anything? You know, how does he interact with the new media?
Christopher does a lot of traveling when his books come out, and he speaks at a lot of different venues. He likes to speak. He really enjoys that. He loves to make contact with an audience, and he does a lot of book signings. And he is a gay author and a gay activist, though his novels are not entirely about gay life. They have gay characters, but they're about a lot of other things too. And he addresses a lot of gay groups and goes to gay bookstores as well as to straight bookstores. He really enjoys all that very, very much, as well as being a very talented writer.
Yep. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So now I'm curious, when you write, what is the Anne Rice author writing rig like? Is it a Mac? Is it a PC? What do you use for a word processor? What's that all about?
I use Microsoft Word, and I use it on a giant G5 Mac, and I have a 30-inch monitor. In fact, I have two 30-inch monitors on the desk where I write the novels. I have two Macs. I have a Mac for email in the corner of the room, and then in the other side of the room I have the Mac where I write the novels. I don't want to mix email and novels on the same computer. I really enjoy keeping it separate.
Oh, that's interesting. So you actually don't even want your email, and you want it to be psychologically a completely different computer.
Right. I don't want to be tempted in the middle of that novel to go check my emails. So I'd have to get up and walk across the room to do that, and that stops me.
Got it. Well, I was actually going to ask you about that, because I find when I'm writing, Twitter is very distracting, and it's very, it just pulls me out a lot. So I was curious. So I guess Twitter is just not going at all. It's just verboten when you're writing.
Oh, right. When I'm doing the novel, I'm just doing the novel. I can access the internet for information and go to Wikipedia, but I don't do anything else. And then, of course, I email the day's work to myself. That's the way I back up my novels.
You email, so your backups are actually emails to yourself?
Yes, I send an email to myself with a Word attachment that contains the day's work.
No, that's
and
really
I let that just float on Gmail or Mac.com, and it's the safest place for the backup of the novel.
That's very interesting. I do the exact same thing. I would not have guessed you would have done that also. That's awesome. Yeah. So, okay. So what other bookish online things do you use? We know you use Facebook. We know you use Twitter. Are you on Goodreads or library thing? Is there any other world in which you're
No,
living in?
I don't know anything. Oh, well, we're on the Ning network. We have
You
a
have a
big
Ning-
Ning site.
Oh,
Yeah.
you do? Okay, so
Yes, we do.
you have a Ning social network.
We
Is that-
do. We
Oh,
do.
okay.
And I get a lot of comments and a lot of emails through that Ning social network. It's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Do you know what the address is for that so people can find it? Not sure? Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'll figure it
I'm not sure
out.
what it is.
I'll figure it out after the show, and we'll put it in the show notes, so there's a link
That's
to it.
great. Yeah.
So,
That's great.
okay. And then, so now you're no longer living in New Orleans. You're living close to Los Angeles. I'm not sure exactly where, but you're sort of close. Is that correct?
I'm in the California desert. I live in Rancho Mirage, south of Palm Springs, and it's very, very beautiful out here. Very beautiful. A lot of queen palms and wonderful flowers and the mountains and the clear air. Very clear, wonderful air.
And now,
Great.
what inspired that move?
I wanted to go to California. I wanted to return to California. And I wanted to be closer to my son, Christopher. He lives in West Hollywood. And I wanted to be not in Los Angeles proper, but somewhere nearby. And Christopher actually suggested the Palm Springs area. He thought that I would like it because of the excellent weather.
Yeah.
And I do.
Oh, good. Well, it's good to have you nearby. So one of the things that you also tweeted recently was you asked if in your audience, has anyone ever done past life regression with a hypnotist, and how did it go? And what did you experience or learn? What were the responses like to that question? I was just curious about that.
I got a lot of responses from people who had done it. But I don't remember, I got one or two emails, not very many on that, but people were curious about it, and I continued to read on it for quite some time, and I decided against doing it at the present time, but I might do it sometime in the future. I might try it.
So yeah, so that was going to be my next question. So you've never actually done it yourself?
No, I haven't, and I'm very afraid of false memories, of getting some suggestion from the hypnotherapist and perhaps imagining something that then feels as though it's an actual memory when in fact it's not.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we're just about out of time. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great pleasure having you here. One of my favorite authors. It's really great having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Well, I've enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
So, all right. The book is Angel Time. It's on shelves everywhere. Anne Rice, thank you. This is Bibliotech. We'll see you next time.